So what's going on, ladies and gentlemen? Mr. Soul Lover Man. We are here. We are live. Let's see. Happy Friday, everyone. And here we go. So today we are talking about betting on yourself. So today we're talking about betting on yourself. And again, happiest of the TGIF out there, everyone. It's Friday. We made it. Yay. it's This July is speeding right along, like really and truly. Pretty soon it'll be time for the kiddos to go back to school. So if you're a parent, congratulations on that. Like really and truly, congratulations on that, man. Like for real. So we are talking about today. We're talking about betting on yourself, gambling with a purpose. And it is very important that we do so in the times that we are living in because what it said, if you don't what 50 said in that song, homie, if I don't do it, it can't be done. I'm gonna let the champagne bottle pop. I'm gonna take it to the top. Serious. So it's time for you. It's really time for you to get to those moments where you're starting to pop the champagne and you're feeling amazing about yourself. It's time to get to those points where you're celebrating. You might say, "Well, so man, how do I do that?" Well, you got to try. You have to try. You got to put yourself out there. If you're trying to do, social media, I'm doing multiple things at one time. Social media is a part of it. It is to get your face out there, your brand out there. Some you may be. They said one of the hardest things for people to do is public speaking. Like speaking in front of people is uh that like people are deathly fearful of that. I don't, it's just like they get in front of people, they freeze up, they stutter, they're set to fear. I don't know, but me, I don't. At this point, I just go for it. I just make it do what it do, baby. Like really and truly. So hey, we've we got one shot at this life, so hey, why not try something new? Why not try something different? Why not put yourself out there? There's so many different ways to do that. Now we have AI. You can have an amazing idea. Hey, what's going on? So you can have and this is your first time checking me out. Don't forget to subscribe. You can have an amazing idea. Put it in what Chat GPT, and it'll give you like 50 different ideas based on your variation. But keep your core idea. A lot of people are like, I'm just gonna let the AI think for me. No, you still have to use your brain. The greatest engine and the greatest uh, thing that we still have is the human mind and the human spirit to go out there, do something new, be bold, come up with these ideas. Like really and truly. So today we are talking about betting on yourself. We're talking about oh, I'm good. I'm good. It's Friday, so I just came from the gym. I didn't want to go, but hey, I got myself up and I went. Um, so we are talking about yeah. So we're talking about betting on yourself, gambling with a purpose, ladies and gentlemen out there. For those keeping score at home, it's very important for you to get out there and put yourself out. Put yourself out there. Your ideas. I'm getting that you're really and truly. Let me grab my water. I'm getting that you're guaranteed to win. How many times have you been in a situation and you've tried something so many times and it just doesn't work? Like I've myself, like I've gone back to school. I've done all of these things, like really and truly. Like people say, and there's nothing wrong with going. Everybody's situation is different. It's really and truly everybody's situation is different. But you have to look at your landscape sometimes and say, okay, who am I? What am I truly about? What is it that I truly want? And you just have to naturally put yourself out there. You have to go for it. It's like it's really and truly. All right, cool. Yeah. So it's really and truly no time like the present. Why? Why not? Why not give yourself the greatest gift that you can give yourself right now? And that is an amazing new lease on life. That is a very positive, prolific, new. That is a very positive and prolific new lease on life. Just putting yourself out there, coming up with this idea and go for it. So, like I just started my podcast. It does sometimes, I reach out to people. Sometimes they don't even respond. I don't even know if the email that I found is even good. You know what I mean? But some people say yeah. You never know. Sometimes you're gonna be pleasantly surprised by who says yes. You're really and truly going to be pleasantly surprised by who says yes. And every journey starts with a single step. Every journey starts with a thought. Every journey has to start with some kind of process. You can listen to me or whoever, the big CEO or the tech billionaire or whoever, and they may say, well, oh yeah, the story, oh, we didn't come from much, and blah 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 blah. I did this, I did that, and hey, bada bang, bada boom, hey, look at me now. So but you really and truly, you have to start from somewhere. It's like I want, I wanted to get in shape. Know that this body is a machine. The clock keeps ticking. It really and truly does. The clock, keeps ticking. But we have to know that we are we are living in very interesting times. I'll say that, and I'm sure the people out there know that, and I'm sure the people out there understand that. The times that we are the times that we are living in are like extraordinarily just uniquely different, and you have to understand that you do have value. I was thinking how the child in you needs to be, I always say on your life and your spiritual journey, the child in you needs to be protected at all costs. Like really and truly, like because that's when you were a kid, you believed anything was possible. Like you would go and just do something. Like I saw a video of a little girl. She like climbed this fence and then she just did a backflip out of nowhere. Like nobody taught her how to do that. She just did it. So it's like why not why not don't um don't think you can, just know you can, and go and do it. Because these are going to be your triumphant moments. It's like while everybody was whatever, I always say you are your greatest competition. I get it when you're not doing something, someone else is, but I'm not worried about what other people are doing. You do your part. You do you. You do the best you can. That's the thing about it. I'm getting that you're going to be globally positioned, but you do the best you can with what you have, well, where you are. I've been in those situations, work and all that stuff, and you're like, you know what? It's you say it's got to get better than this. Like, no, it's going to get better than this, because you're like, you get to that point where you're fed up to here with whatever that was, management, your living situation, life, and you're like, nah, I need to make a phone call, like, for seriously, whatever that is that's been on your spirit, that you've been contemplating. Now is the time to do it. Now is the time to continue to do it. I did my podcast way back in 2020, 2021, when everybody was at home. I didn't think, I was thinking, well, let me just try. Let me just try. Of course, I always back up everything that I do with prayer and speaking life into it. So, it's time for you to speak new life into your situation, like really and truly. Like you probably, you probably have a car out there and you're like, man, it would be nice to have, but just go out there, raise that hood up, do what you got to do to get that thing running until you get something better. Seriously, so now is that time for you to go and make something more amazing to happen in your life. Now is that time. And I say, for me, I say, my people might say, well, why, blah blah blah. I mean, why not? Why not? I mean, oh woe as us, the people that have been downtrodden by society, and people look down on you because of this and that, and whatever that may be. Whatever that may be, they see you. Somebody was telling me a story yesterday of what they do for a living, and they had to go and pick something up, and it was at this medical facility, and they went in, and because of who they are and how they look and whatever, and how maybe they were dressed, they are a total professional. They know what they're doing, and the person looked at them like, who are you, what are you here for, just ask them all these weird questions. And but that's just people being people. They you never know. You never know who people are. Like there was, I always say, try to treat people who are, especially in these jobs. Try to, a lot of people are on the edge. There was that a young lady that they said, that unalived her manager at McDonald's because she said the lady was bullying her, and she said the lady was always messing with her. And it was like, people are, people, you never know what people are going through. So, but anyway, I say, I say to you, bet on yourself. Like seriously. Wesley said in Passenger 57, always bet on black. Seriously. So always and no. So yeah. So now, now this is the time for you to let me see. But yeah, this is really and truly a time for you to this is really and truly a time for you to bet on yourself, and not not just and to really and truly know it, that these things are, like your ideas, your ideals are gonna come to pass. Think of new ways to go out there and do something. The wheel can, the wheel can always be reinvented. That's just naturally what that is. This is your first time watching Mr. Soul Lover Man. Don't forget to subscribe. But yeah, really and truly, the wheel can always be reinvented. You feel like if you're a little tired, take a break, rest for a second, then get up. You got to get going, man. You got to move. That's just what it is. It's almost like you're not a Johnny come lately. Your time is now. Society, the world has never seen anything like you before. They don't, it'll be hard for them to process the way that you think and how you approach the things, and how you do it, and how you continue to move. It's almost like you're caught in a snowstorm. It's like you and your little kid, some kind of way you kept them warm, and you made it to safety, and y'all both survived. You're that person. You're that person that you're that person that never gives up. You're that person in the, I don't know, in the last quarter. You find some kind, you're down, but you find some kind of way to you find some you always find a way to win. That's the thing. Yeah, so you really and truly, you always repurpose yourself, you always reposition yourself. You always find some kind of way to win, Like if I come on here sometime, I don't know who's watching. I don't. I don't know if any, I'm sure somebody will see this, wherever they'll see it at. But, for me, for me, the important thing is that I have to keep coming and I have to keep showing up. I know that this is a part of it, but this is like, this isn't everything. This is like just, for me, this is maybe I'm giving somebody an encouraging word. You never know. Everything that I might say may not it may not click, or they say resonate with you, but it may be something, you know, it may be something that I say, or what's going on, Miss Polk, how are you? It may be something that I say or somebody else says that may trigger something in your mind to get it on and popping again, in your life, to get things moving, like to get things moving, so to speak. When I go work out, it is just it. Well, there are other people in the gym. Don't get me wrong, but it's just me. It's like, yeah, God woke me up this morning. I'm thankful for that. But if I don't, if you don't get up and go to work and do whatever it is you do to make your money, then your bank account is, you know what I mean. You know, but some of you are really positioned to be entrepreneurs. The working thing, that's cool. And that's cool. But it's really and truly time for you to bet on yourself. It's really and truly. Um, Thanks for the gift. It's really and truly time for you to. It's really and truly time for you to walk it like you talk it, or walk it like you think it. Repurpose, reposition, go out, find those targets. Make it work. It's time for your products to. It's time for your products to be on. Just to be on those shelves. So to speak. But now it's different. Now is we're at the point where I see it's not the corporate. What reaching out to the corporations, that's one thing, but reaching out to like government leaders, that's a new kind of like boss move. Think about that. Like you're like, people might say like, oh, my stuff is in this and that, but you say, man, my stuff is I just got a brand deal with the whole country. like, I don't know. But like, imagine that, like you getting a brand deal like with a whole like country. That's a whole different kind of a flex. That's where I oh, I don't know. That's where I challenge you to reposition your. What's going on, Miss Kelly? That's where I reposition you to think of, something new. We was talking earlier about reinventing the wheel. Like the wheel can always be reinvented for whatever you need it for. That's why it was invented in the first place. So we can get from point A to point B, but your your truth right now is to live your best life. Your truth right now is to live your best life. There is feel like there's travel. Really feel like there's travel coming in, and you traveling and actually having like access money to do this. And it's like you're not like, oh well, I really don't have the funds, so I'm not, like you ever see people travel all the time and like it's like they haven't worked in like 8 years, you know what I mean? So you're gonna have the access funds to go out and have fun, and also also go out and do like some amazing business with people. So you're about to be you're being economically empowered, in your life to go out and do something different. Your ideas are so unique, is that people are, a lot of people aren't going to be able to say no, because what you're offering is something new. What you're offering is something different. The world right now needs different. It needs it needs different, like a fish needs water. Like really and truly, the world needs different right now. Like seriously, because the world needs intelligence. The world really and truly. We don't need ratchet. We don't need more people twerking and all that stuff. There's enough of that nonsense. That seriously. We don't need more rappers and all that. And all that stuff. Not trying to step on anybody's dreams, but just to say that we need to change the climate of the world, and you're one of these chosen people to go out here. That's why people talk about like chosen ones and all of this and all of that. So you're one of these chosen ones to be branded with your brand, to go out there, be unique, be fearless with whatever you have right now, and go out there and make that happen. It's like that name. What was that, Midas Freeman? I love that. It's like what's that guy's name? Robin. Is it Robin Thicke? I think sung that song. You got the Midas touch. Remember King Midas? I think that was Greek mythology. Whatever he touched turned to gold. I mean, it didn't work out for him, but anyway, you got that Midas touch now. You're going to be purposely put in front of people, beside people, to elevate them and to elevate yourself. And just remember, this journey is it's about you, but it's not all about you. It's there are other people that have been waiting. That song, but a guy, I forgot his name, but that song, "Waiting for the World to Change." So you're a big part of that process. Don't think that you're not. Don't think that, oh, little me and blah 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 blah, and um it's like the smallest. It's like the people who thought they were small in the smallest situations from the smallest towns, gone out and done tremendous things in the world throughout history. We're not just talking about modern history. We're talking about, like, hundreds and hundreds of years across the span of humanity. People, so it's time for you to stop thinking small, and for you to know that your situation is growing, and it's bigger, and it's changing, and it's miraculous, and it's profound. The things that you're going to see, and the things that you are going to do. Even within the next few months. You have a calling. You've been like that show. You've been you've been touched by an angel, or your ancestors, or however. You've been contemplating these things, but what it is now is that you're not stopping. Like before, you're like, oh, I'm gonna just go and do this and that, and I guess you get busy and sidetracked, and your mind goes this way, and you put it down for too long. But this time, you're gonna pick it back up. It's almost like you're running in, I don't know, 4x100 relays, and the baton is now in your hand. You're like the last leg, so you got to take it home. So what you gonna do? The baton has been put in your hand. You got a firm grip. You train. You take off with the wind like lightning. That's what it is now. You gotta bring home the gold. That's where we are right now. You have to, you have to, you gotta do it. You have to do it. That's just what it is. Knowing No, I told somebody earlier, knowing that you have this powerful, beautiful purpose inside of you, in front of you, man, there's nothing like it in the world. It just hit me today. After hearing this, it just really hit me today. And sometimes, we need to hear it over and over again. We do. But that's the beautiful thing about it. You have been repurposed, rebranded. You've been repurposed, rebranded for now. There's only those hangers by that can say, oh, blah 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 blah. These people can't even lace your shoestrings on the and the oldest shoes that you have. They cannot do it like you, uh, Melissa. They can't do it like me. They can't do it like me. Yeah, but anyway, they can't do it like you, man. They can't. They just don't have that. As the French say, that je ne sais quoi. They don't have those outstanding qualities and all of that stuff. Like you, something about you that tells you, like, if you walk into a business meeting and interview, you're like, I don't know. You're like, yeah, nah, this ain't it. Maybe it's the first sec, whatever interview it is. You're like, nah, that's not it. So, and I think sometimes the when it's on the other foot, I think people forget that it's not just them choosing you. You're choosing that whatever it is. Also, it's like a lady said. I remember, I did an interview a few weeks ago, and this lady, one lady was for the company. She was like, yeah, when y'all come in, your interview starts now, and blah blah blah, and this and that, and it's like this, and I'm just straightforward. And this other lady who was the interviewee, she was like, hold on. She said, wait a minute. She said, look, I get that you're with the company, and she said, but it's a two-way street. It's not just a one-way street. She said, yeah, I get that. Yeah, I get the point where you're saying that the interview starts soon as we come in and blah, y'all looking at us. But she's saying it's the same thing for us. We're looking at y'all the same way. This has to be a fit for us as well. So don't, she said, don't get it twisted. But I was like, yeah. She said, don't get it twisted now. She said, don't get it twisted. Like, like it's just all about y'all, and we just, we just passengers on or whatever, whatever. But she was like, she said her piece. After she said that, she was out. It was like a little virtual thing or whatever, whatever. But yeah, she said her piece, man, and she was gone. But anyway, I say that to say to you, you have that power of you have that power of choice. You've always had that power. You've always had that power where you're going. Yeah, it's like you're going. I'm getting to the. You're going to be a power broker. That's what that is. You're going to be. You're really and truly going to be a power broker. And if just to let y'all know, I do one-on-one spiritual sessions with folks. So if if you're interested, hit me up. But yeah, but you're going to be a power broker. Um, yeah, things are moving, things are shifting, things are changing, in your life. So continue to are we what is it recontinue to do it. Is that a word? I don't know. But yeah, so just recontinue to purpose yourself. Put yourself out there. You know that what you have been through is not for nothing. Because you have all of that. Like which avenues to go down and which avenues not to go down now. So moving forward, things will start to shift and move a little faster for you. Really and truly. So now it's time for you to yeah. Now it's time for you to shift gears, because thing again, it's things are really and truly going to start to move fast, like really 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 fast. TikTok is a weird app. No, we don't want to do that. But all right, man. I think that's pretty much all I have for today. Yeah, but just remember to bet on yourself, and this, and moving forward in this season, you are gambling with purpose. You are again like 7-11. We not going for snake eye. Seriously, we're not going for snake eyes. Every step you take, um, every step you take, every whatever you send out, you're winning. You're winning. You're elevating. Do something bold, like really. Reach out to a millionaire or a billionaire CEO. Tell them, hey, look, I'm such and such. I'm looking for a mentor. And that mentorship may turn into something more powerful. Seriously, be that bold. People, there are people out here that are, who knows? Some of the people may watch me, and I may never know it. You know, somebody, I was talking to somebody. This topic came up a few times this week. You never know what rooms your name is being mentioned in. I said, you never know because you're not there to present yourself, defend yourself, whatever, whatever. So, somebody told me, they were like, oh, there was this young lady. She was in a spiritual room and she was saying something about you, blah blah blah. And I said, hold up, and this and that, and so you never know what people are saying, get better and different. There was another time, and I forgot all about this. There's a young lady, she does voiceover work online, and I was on a social media app, and they mentioned her name. I was just in there was a lot of people in there too, and I went and I said, I had to go to another app. I said, look, get on such and such. They're talking about you, not in a bad way, but they were mentioning her work. And she said to this day that has changed her life and profoundly changed, just by mention, it's almost like tapping somebody on the shoulder and tell them, like tapping somebody on the shoulder and say, hey, look up that way. So, and I didn't think anything of it. I just, and she mentioned it, and I was like, oh yeah, 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 I remember that. And she said that, man, you never know, man. You never know. You never know how you impact people. Like I probably would never know. Whoever's watching, how I may impact people, or through what I've said, or what or just showing up, and all of that, how you may inspire people to go out and do stuff, or maybe something that you said, and whatever, whatever. Me using my spiritual gifts and all of that to, I've had people come back years later, months later, say, hey, remember that time you told us blah 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 blah. And it's like jumping on one bus or one Uber or whatever, and jump going, and they'll have to kind of, I like vaguely, like, yeah, this happened and that happened, and blah blah blah. It's like cool, and I'm just happy that just really and truly happy that it's working out for them, But these are people that weren't afraid to put in the work, To even now, I still see people who are boldly moving to new cities, states, people moving outside of the country. That's, I mean, hey, you move where the spirit moves you. So, but all right. I know I said that I was gonna. I said I was wrapping it up, but whew, yeah, I'm still on it. But anyway, let me drink this water. Yeah, there are several of you that are about to hit the jackpot. Like really and truly, like several of you are about to. You've had winning ways for a while. You really and truly had. You really and truly had winning ways for a nice little while. So now you're putting those plans into action. So that's moving forward. That's what a lot of it is about. It's about it's about the action. So yeah. So go out there and win. Be happy. and just make it happen for yourself. So remember, it's not just necessarily, it's about you. Yeah. It's really, it's really, it's about you and your mindset and you and your chosen purpose and how you're walking and how you're talking and how you look at yourself in the mirror. If nobody's ever told you you're not just beautiful, you're boldly beautiful because it's bigger than the outside, the transparency. Sometimes that'll help you get into the door. It will, but it's the stuff that you have inside of you, and it's the forces that you have around you, that are pushing you, that are helping you in these divine ways. I rem- and I could tell this story. I remember one time I had to go to this job interview. You know how people say like, imagine. You know how people say like imagine yourself doing it or imagine yourself in that situation. So that's what I did. And like when it's interesting because it's like when I walked in there, it's almost like the lady told me like, "Wow, you look familiar." I'm telling you, y'all have some powerful spiritual gifts that you are not that you're not. I know sometimes when people when it's new and it's spiritual, you may be a little afraid. Hold on. You may be like a little, you may be a little afraid. You may be, afraid to kind of like tippy toe around it. I'm telling you, you have to use these things. It's warfare. You need to look. You need to use what you have to the betterment. I'm talking like your spiritual, the spiritual side of you. So, but anyway, so it's like, and by doing that, I shifted that situation. I shifted her consciousness, and it was almost like when I got in there, she was like, "Oh, you look familiar," and I was like, "Yeah, I don't know. I just probably had one of those faces." But anyway, needless to say, I got the job. That was pre-pandemic, all that stuff. But yeah, so
It's 9 o'clock.
thanks, computer. But yeah, I got that job. So just these are things that you can do. These are things that you can do. Um, I don't want to go too deep with it, but yeah, I'm gonna leave it at that. I forgot, man. I don't know. I forgot all about that. Like I said, it's so much that happens on this journey. I'm sure there's so much that's happened even in your life, even like when you were a child. That's in that point where we were like so powerful and our imaginations were just everywhere. But all right, I'm gonna go ahead on and shut her down, ladies and gentlemen. Thank y'all for joining me. Y'all have a great TGIF. Y'all have an amazing weekend, and I will catch y'all next time.